Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the landing party. I'm your host, Graham Nolan. Captain's Log, Stardate 2506.04, Episode 55, Assignment Earth. We're on the last episode of the second season, my friends. Written by Art Wallace and Gene Roddenberry, directed by Mark Daniels. If this episode seems like the Star Trek characters play second fiddle to Gary 7, then you would be correct. This episode was designed to be a pilot for a new series. Roddenberry had talked to futurists and scientists about what they thought advanced societies in space would do with more primitive societies like ours. One of them suggested the aliens would kidnap children and take them back to their worlds to raise and enlighten and educate them on the more enlightened road of peace, and then send them back to their own worlds to help guide their own people. According to Robert Lansing, this was the idea behind Gary 7. Roddenberry wanted to attach a star to his property before approaching the network, so he called up one of his friends and first choices for captain of the Enterprise, Lloyd Bridges. Bridges liked the idea, but still wasn't keen on doing a series that could be conceived of as being for kids. Other actors considered for the role of Gary 7 were Patrick McGowan, Patrick O'Neill, Tony Franciosa, Burt Reynolds, and of course Robert Lansing. 6 days before the episode was to film, Lansing got the job. Lansing had been working steadily in television and film since 1956 and had already starred in 3 series: 87th Precinct, 12 O'Clock High, and The Man Who Never Was. The ditzy role of Roberta Franklin went to the then unknown Terry Garr. Garr had been a dancer in some Elvis movies, and this role in Star Trek is what launched her career. The script called for Isis the cat to make various emotional sounds. Mark Daniels discovered that Barbara Babcock, who was hired as the voice of the Beta 5 computer, and was also the voice of Trelane's mother, as well as appearing in A Taste of Armageddon, could convincingly make those sounds, so she got the job instead of a real cat. That's anti-cat hiring, people. The stock footage of the rocket was actually the first test launch of the mighty Saturn V rocket, the most powerful machine until recently ever created by man. This is the only episode of Star Trek in which a guest star is listed after the opening credits rather than in the end credits. Henceforth, pushing forward a pilot. Captain Kirk's comment, "I'm sure they'll have many interesting adventures together," refers to the Assignment Earth series that never materialized. Gary 7 and Roberta Lincoln would have been up against aliens called the Omegans, who had mastered time travel, and they would work to make sure mankind achieved the glorious destiny that Gary 7's alien masters intended it should. To this end, Gary's office computer would have had the ability to turn back time and cancel out any damage that had been done by the Omegans in their attempt to alter Earth's history. I think that would have been a cool show, to follow those two. Those scenes in this episode were actually shot at Cape Kennedy itself. The illusion of being in Florida was achieved by using a combination of stock footage and Paramount studio locations. Now, having grown up on the Space Coast of Florida, I could tell. And that, my friends, is your Captain's Log for today. Let's beam in the landing party. We have Aaron 7 has arrived through the Omegans.
Son of Gary 7.
Son of Gary 7.
Yeah.
And here's Gary 476,000.
Yeah.
Boy, Gary was busy.
Aaron, I'm here to inform you I am your father.
Finally, the answers I've been searching my entire life for.
You have my beard.
Yeah, I do. Look at that. Maybe we were separated at birth.
That's not my dick size. Jeez.
Oh, now hang on. Look out here. Where's that paper sack at?
Yeah, get it ready, Aaron.
Oh, Graham's going to lose more followers after this one.
That's right. We lost 6 subscribers after last week.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Why?
Just too much adult content, Ron.
That could have been it.
Is that true? Really? For real?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
You never
who?
know. You just never know.
Do you know which ones?
No. I mean,
You could send him an email. Go, come on, man. It's Ron's fault.
Come on, Ron.
It's Ron's fault.
Well, this will definitely be the last time Graham asked me to do a show with him.
Well, I honestly,
it's too late now. You're embedded in this one.
well, the shocking thing was it was Anna that went off the rails.
True.
And I couldn't believe what she said. I was like, what?
Right? Yeah. See, so maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't sell yourself short, Ron. I mean, you boosted it, but
you did. You really you wouldn't let it go once it was out in the open, but you didn't start it for a change. So I'll give you credit.
Where is Anna Banana?
I don't know. She didn't mention in the chat she wasn't going to be here, so maybe she's just running late. Maybe the baby. She's trying to get the baby to bed.
I saw she was online getting some grief from people because she posted pictures of herself in a bikini.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
and I wrote to her. I said, Anna, because she said, "Oh, which one do you think I'd look best in?" or something. I wrote to her a private note. I said, Anna, now you know everybody's going to say none, not wearing any of them, right? But instead, then I read what they were saying. They were just giving her all kinds of crap.
Yeah, I mean, she posted it with a picture of the same bathing suit when she was pregnant. And basically she was saying that, since the baby, she's worked hard, she's worked out, she's dieted properly, and has gotten back at her figure. And that's something to be proud of. I mean,
yeah.
At this stage of the game, to get on Anna, of all people, about that. I mean,
yeah.
When Instagram is rife with, chicks, I mean, doing 800 times worse things.
Oh, yeah.
It's just absurd.
It's silly. I mean, she worked hard. She's proud of it, and she's just showing
Yeah,
people, maybe to motivate them as well.
Just a bikini for.
I wanted her ab workout. Are you kidding me?
Right?
You want
her ab workout is push the pie away.
Well, okay, that's not going to work for me.
Okay.
I need another option.
She has a steady diet of protein and the stuff she was talking about last
Oh, stop it. Here we go.
Okay. All right.
It's right here. It's right here.
Well, she hates this episode. But surprisingly, I kind of like this one.
Actually, I do too.
Yeah.
I only have one problem with this. Okay, first of all, because it's not really a Star Trek episode, it's a pilot for another show. But I do like the show, and I do like Terry Garr, and I like the lead guy. I thought very interesting looking actor, and he really sort of underplayed nicely. But
yeah, he's got. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say the thing that bugged me was the opening where they're just routinely going back in time to observe Earth. It was the most ridiculously contrived reason to get them back in time to do this.
Right.
But after that, I was okay.
Every time they go back in time, they run the risk of changing time, and they know that. So they should only be for the ultimate thing. You can't just go back like as tourists. Yeah, let's go check out 1968.
Yeah, exactly. It was that bugged me. But other than that, I mean, because I guess
it is. Go ahead.
Quit interrupting me, Ron.
Well, it's not. I never can tell when you're gonna stop.
Oh
talking.
My gosh. Okay. No, I was going to say, to set it up where it was some sort of accident or something where they ended up back in time would have taken too much of the episode. So I get it. That's all I was going to say. Mm-hmm. Now, Ron, please.
I forgot what I was going to say.
My God.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to say. I like that opening when Gary 7 goes nuts inside the transporter room and starts fighting all those guys. And Spock
I
goes.
knew you were going to bring that up.
Yeah. Spock gives him the neck pinch and it doesn't work. And then so Gary Seven turns around and gives him a karate chop right in the neck and sends Spock flying back.
That was the first time you felt like Spock felt flaccid.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what do you mean? This is supposed to work.
Yeah. It's like, do I have to actually
Kirk
fight
should have
somebody?
said, and you were going to teach me this?
Mhm, mhm.
Like
Yeah,
you
they
said,
never
we're gonna
really
get
got
worried.
around to explaining that, that like whether Gary Seven was actually human or an alien that had entered a human body, or why he was so invulnerable.
Yeah, they really didn't. He indicated that he was from Earth. They took him as a child
Right.
to this other planet, but they must have done something to him to enhance him.
Yeah,
Uh,
clearly.
Because like the
Well,
neck pinch didn't work, and
He was
Bones
super
says he's like a perfect human body,
yeah,
kind of like
McCoy said that. Yeah.
like what's his name, Khan, that type of thing.
That's
don't you-
that's the only reason I identify with Gary Seven is that,
The ultimate human, yeah. I can see that.
the perfect human
The
body.
perfect human. Yeah.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
It kind of fits into Roddenberry's sort of worldview, though, don't you think? That technology solves everything, and that so therefore, because he went to a technologically advanced society, he was therefore over generations would become physically superior.
Well, he also seems to feel that technology also gives way to enlightenment,
Right.
because these are always technologically greater advanced than us, but they're so much better as people.
Right.
They have done away with racial injustice. They've done away with the need for commercialism and all this stuff.
Well, he never addresses the fact of actual living of life, that it's a struggle. It's always a utopian vision,
Well,
where
it's-
nobody has to work or work hard or go hungry or medical, all those things. But that's not reality.
Right.
Never gets addressed. It's never looked at that way.
Mm.
I know it drives me nuts. I actually find it offensive because it's that whole liberal mind hive thought process that if you take people out of poverty or you give them enough technology, they'll be good moral people, and that's just BS.
Mhm.
They need they need to struggle. They need a purpose. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I will say this episode is interesting for a couple of reasons. One of them is the computer, the Beta something 5 or whatever.
Beta 5, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of M5.
Mm.
It's supposed to be so
Oh,
advanced,
5.
and yet and the M5 is similar, the Duotronic unit, but it's a similar, because this computer talks to Gary Seven and has a repartee with him,
Mhm.
and he calls the computer a snob and all that, and
Right.
it's got more personality than the M5. It actually thinks for itself the same way Hal kind of thinks, and that's what the M5 was sort of going in that direction. So there's that, and it also reminds me a bit of a Mission Impossible episode. I think it just reminds me of Mission Impossible, just because of the setup on Earth and everything else, and Kirk and Spock are in suit and tie, and just
floods.
What's that?
In floods. Do you ever notice like it's got like 3 inches before the top of their shoes?
Hey, whatever they had in the wardrobe, right?
Yeah.
Put these on, and they don't fit exactly right, but
it also, it's interesting because I think that this kind of a show, if it was a spinoff, it would work now, because they talk about the threat of nuclear annihilation, and that's still probably worse than ever.
Sure, because you got all these, bad actors that have them now, not complete governments,
Right. So in that way, the show is prophetic again, with the technology, and then and the nuclear, addressing the nuclear stuff.
The interesting thing about this episode is that, like, the Enterprise or Star Trek, the crew, Kirk and Spock, they almost get in the way of this episode. You know what I mean? It goes back to the thing we just said earlier, that it's really a pilot for another series, and
Yeah, to showcase them.
Right. And it's like you really didn't even need those, the Enterprise in it at all.
Yeah, one of the most simple lines in it too for me had I don't know why it always resonated, it always stuck out in my head, is when he finds out what happened to the previous agents and they were killed in a car accident.
Right.
Just him, the way he says something is, for them to die and something is useless as an automobile accident. That always resonated with me because it made me think of that and how many people actually do die in those and how pointless it really is. You know what I mean? If we all want to die. If we're going to die, we want to die for something important, like saving our children or whatever. But just to get in a car crash, that really struck home for me. As a young.
Mm-hmm.
And he really delivered that with some emotional impact too.
He's a great actor. I don't know if you guys.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, he was in Twilight Zone with Mariette Hartley, and she was in the episode with Mr. Atos where he goes.
Right. When they go back to that season 3 coming soon.
Yeah, and they were in an episode together of Twilight Zone where they have the opportunity to. What happens? He goes out into space. He plays an astronaut, like Gary Seven, kind of. And he goes out into space because humanity depends on it. And he was supposed to come back, but what they didn't take into account was how old he would be when he comes back. Right. And so when he comes back, like they were madly in love, and he goes off. He's this hero.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, and they were madly in love, and then he comes back and he's old. He's like 80 years old, and she's still young and everything. And it's tragic because the memory of her was the only thing that kept him alive out in space when he couldn't talk to anyone.
Right.
He comes back and she's this young woman, and he basically rebukes her, and she accepts it because what's she going to do? She can't, marry an 80-year-old, I guess. And it's a very sad
work out though? I mean, if according to Einstein's theory, like if you're out in space and you're traveling faster than light, you're not
back and the Earth had aged.
Right. That's
she'd have been old.
First. Right. This was first.
Well, the thing is, it could have easily been solved if he had had enough money. She would have married him anyway. So,
like my wife.
There you go. You lied to her. I got royalties coming in, baby.
Fiction Method says he has a space mission that will freeze him. He fell in love before leaving and didn't freeze to age with her, but she was frozen on Earth. That's okay. Yeah, that's right. I do remember that now. You're absolutely right.
He did it for love, so she wouldn't be alone in her old age.
Yeah.
Right.
But she ended up freezing herself so that she could be with him when he comes back.
It's like a weird sci-fi Romeo and Juliet in a way.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice in the Twilight Zone how many episodes where people get like screwed over it at the twist ending and they didn't really deserve it? Like I think back to the Burgess Meredith one where he's like, I finally can read all these books, and then he breaks his glasses, and you're he didn't deserve that.
It's a dark sense of irony.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's not fair. It's because he had this horrible life.
All the time in the world. I can read my books.
Now he's got them organized. He's got his little system.
He's sitting on a destroyed point.
Right, exactly.
But he's found happiness in this broken world, and then he stumbles in his glasses.
I mean, he could have picked up the glasses and just looked through one little.
I know, but it's so tragic, and you're like, he was a good guy.
Yeah, plus because he came from that henpecking wife too.
Yeah, he had a horrible wife, and he's finally going to be happy, and then
just a nice guy.
Yeah. So,
you know what? The one thing I think if they wanted to really sell this as a pilot is that they really needed to go. They needed to lean in heavier on Gary Seven. Too much reliance on his ballpoint pen gadget. I wanted to see more of the Gary Seven, who's got this perfect body, fighting and doing stuff. There's no action with him other than in the transporter room. He really doesn't do anything. Like
Mission Impossible. Well, I think it points to them being sort of a peaceful society, and they point to that in a couple of ways. Well, first thing, let me talk about the ballpoint pen thing. You know, he gets put in the brig, and then
And they don't search him.
Oh yeah,
when Kirk
they don't
blasts
frisk.
him, they don't bother frisking him and thinking maybe he's got some kind of weapon on him or something. So they let him go in the brig and he gets right out. But then I feel like this part was a bit of a mistake, is they gave you an insight into what kind of a character he was, maybe on purpose. I guess they probably had this discussion. But when he zaps the guy, the security guard, before he hits him with, he could hit him with the phaser, he zaps him and then he gets this smile on his face.
Yeah, and he goes, "Go to sleep now."
Yeah, and then they go to, and when he leaves in the transporter, they run in, and all the guys are sleeping like with the big smiles on their face. So it tells you that he's not a harmful character.
Right.
But the whole point of Kirk chasing him around is he doesn't know that. But we're kind of privy to it, and I think it would have been more interesting if we were more on Kirk and Spock's side, trying to figure out if he was benevolent or not.
Well, the ballpoint pen was actually called the Orgasmatron.
Clearly,
well, there you go.
If you look at the one guy on the transporter floor, he's like,
yeah, and the security guard at the Kennedy Space Center, you know, when he gets zapped and he goes off and he leans against the wall and slides down, he's like,
yeah. They should have had them showing the orgasm, like shooting.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh, there we go.
There goes. There we go. It didn't take long.
There goes.
See how many more guys I can get you to dump your subscription.
I agree with Ron though. I was thinking that when I was watching this episode, it's like, this would be better if we didn't know if Gary Seven was a good guy or bad guy. You know,
because then at the end it would have all come. You know, it would have been a great ending.
Yeah,
right.
Find out for sure. You know, I mean,
the turnaround point could have been if they kept that hidden from the readers or the viewers when he grabs Roberta's hand and says that's set to kill, and then hands it over to him. He's giving the weapon. He's now, you know, basically, you know, laying his belly out there saying, you know, I'm trying to do the right thing here.
Yeah.
Towards the end, when they're, you know, he finally convinces Kirk. He's like, you've got to, you know, he's basically telling Kirk, you got to take that risk and have faith in me and let me get to my computer and disarm the warhead. You know, that would have been fine right there. They didn't need to show him as benevolent by, you know, zapping people with the Orgasmatron. You know?
Now imagine if this went to a series and they leave you with this dangling plot point here about Isis the cat. You know, all of a sudden she's this smoke show sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
You know,
it was a smoke show too.
Yeah. She's been that actress, like, she's not credited. So there's been speculation in lots of books and stuff about who she was. And I just saw, let me see if I can find that thing, what her real name is.
Well, are we supposed to assume that she?
I think it's Pussy Galore.
Yeah, I think
it's April Tatro.
Ron.
What? It's from James Bond.
I know. I'm just okay. So, are we to assume that she was a cat who took on a physical form, or is she always like that and she just takes on the form of a cat to be inconspicuous?
Yeah, well, that's the question. Is she a shapeshifter that can take other shapes too,
or is that a race of cat people?
Right.
There you go.
Like Nastasia.
So many unanswered questions.
Yeah. I do like the ending because this is always the thing that ties up that Conan drum, or that, you know, paradox about time travel, is that, you know, they were just, you know, they were part of the history of that happening. You know what I mean? Kirk and Spock.
Right, because Kirk
goes back
to the records and says, there was a nuclear detonation 104 miles above
right at that time, right at that place.
Yeah. So we were meant to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so here's a plot thing though that maybe I just wasn't paying attention, and maybe you guys can enlighten me here. But so Gary Seven, the other agents that he was overseeing that were killed in the car wreck, their purpose was to sabotage this flight, right? This rocket. launch originally, right? And so then he had to go and sabotage it. Okay, but what were they sending it up for in the first place? I mean, didn't them by sabotaging it then create the potential for World War III when they were trying? It's like he's saying they created the problem, but then I'm here to solve the problem I just created. Because if they'd left the satellite, if they'd left that rocket alone, what was it going to do if he hadn't sabotaged it? They were just going to put it up in orbit, right? So they could potentially use it as a weapon in the future.
Maybe they had access to the future the way they had access to the past.
You know what I'm saying?
Where the warhead falls, because they talk about the possibility of any one of those warheads falling from orbit. And
Right.
Okay. Anthony Mark has Graham, you might want to bring that up. That's actually a reasonable explanation.
They wanted to create the potential World War III because then all the world government got together and will reduce nuclear weapons because we came so close in this episode. That's
like
true.
The Watchmen.
Yeah, that might actually be it. So the whole idea was they were going to create a scenario where they almost came to World War III, but then stop it just in time, and then everybody would come to their senses. And
in fact, Gary Seven says something about that when he's with Kirk. We have to stop it at exactly such and such, to basically motivate them to how close they came to
that's right.
killing
right.
everything.
Yep,
yeah,
that's right.
I wonder if Alan Moore he probably was a Star Trek fan. If this influenced the idea of the Watchmen at all, because the Watchmen at the end of the Watchmen, it was like Dr. Manhattan, he kills Rorschach, because Rorschach was going to tell everybody. I don't know if you guys remember that at all, but it's similar. Yeah. It's a similar premise.
Yeah, because it was like some sort of alien invasion, or they told him it was going to be, and then
they needed to get banned. Veidt, the guy who was the smartest guy,
right?
He wanted to create a Holocaust, which he does, in order to join the world together,
right?
But a lot of people had to die to do it,
right?
So
and it was all Charlton characters.
Yeah,
savage Charlton characters. Man,
the red-headed stepchild of Stanford.
Boy, I'll tell you, Anna really hates this episode. She doesn't even show up. I wonder if she's okay. Anna, if you're out there, I hope you're all right.
Let me see if she hasn't put in a message to us. Nope.
Is there any documentation about why if there's anything interesting about why this was not picked up, or is it just kind of one of those?
I'm curious about that too, because it was a good it was definitely a good pilot for something,
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think Roddenberry was hoping, because at this point, this is the 26th episode of the second season. They thought maybe it would go to 28, but they didn't request 2 more episodes. So they didn't know there was going to be a 3rd season yet.
Right.
And I think he was thinking, because of all the shit they'd been through, that there wasn't going to be a 3rd season. So he wanted to kind of, pad the or grease the wheels, whatever the metaphor is for, making sure he had something in the works.
I understand that, but I'm curious why it didn't get picked up, because all things considered, like we've all sort of agreed upon, it probably would have been a pretty good show.
It's probably money, dude.
Yeah.
At this point, the show was going to get canceled, and I think they might have just looked at the Nielsen ratings for that week, and something as simple as that,
Yeah, poor old Gary Seven. What could have been?
And if you compare this episode as a possible launch for a pilot to the Menagerie, for instance,
right?
It's a far cry in quality. I mean, not quality, but the Menagerie is a serious sci-fi, and it's a very extreme. This is a bit campy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the budget that the Cage had, or where No Man Has Gone Before. You know, they put some real money into those two pilots, and this is just in maybe a slightly upper budget second season episode. Now, I don't think it even has the final budget of a first season episode. You know,
Yeah,
but it has more than what they allocated for the second season.
And it's a like I said, it's a bit campy. Terry Garr's performance is campy, you know, and
yeah, I don't really care for her character in this, I gotta say.
And then at the end, she automatically is like judging the cat and jealous of the cat, and it's just weird.
That was weird. I have to admit, it's like, who's that? And you're like, why is she in love with Gary Seven now? Or I mean,
right.
Yeah, it was kind of
weird,
misplaced, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, she was the comic relief, right? And I guess if you're setting up a series, you got somebody like Gary Seven who's like completely stoic and serious, and then you've got his goofy sidekick secretary as the comic relief. I guess that's what they're trying to set up.
I will say again, though, as far as just to backpedal for a second, that as far as the technology again and how they predicted speaking into something that types when it listens to your voice the way our phones do now, you know.
You know, it was interesting, you know, when the computer or Gary Seven, it was either Gary Seven or the computer was saying that on this date, there will be an assassination. The Chinese will.
Yeah. That was Spock. Spock was recounting the history.
Okay. So Spock. So ironically, 2 weeks after this episode was shot was when Martin Luther King was killed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was either a couple weeks after it aired or after it was shot.
Wow.
So that's kind of
I was wondering if they were referring to, when did Bobby Kennedy get assassinated? What year was that?
Same year, 68.
Or I thought it was 69. Okay.
I can't remember.
I think everything's 69.
Yeah, what is with you, Ron?
Hey, all right.
Hey, all right.
Graham,
my man,
jumping on board. I knew I'd corrupt him at some point.
Oh my gosh! All right,
bring him to the dark side.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were
complete.
I wondered if they were referring to like a recent event, because there was so much of that going on at that period of time, and I wasn't quite sure about my dates. And I was like, is he referring to Kennedy right there or Martin Luther King? But as you said, like 2 weeks after that, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately prophetic.
Yeah.
You ever wonder, a little off topic, but you ever wonder how the world would look right now had Kennedy and Martin Luther King not been assassinated?
How would they judge
How would the world look now in 2025?
Oh, how would the world look?
Well, we wouldn't have had Lyndon Johnson, that's for sure. So that's an improvement right there.
It's crazy to think about. You know, that would be an interesting tale to tell. You know, a what if story. Maybe it might have been worse.
Yeah,
you don't know.
I mean, the reason Kennedy was in Dallas was because his poll numbers were down, and he was, he was making the rounds.
Yeah, they were really down.
Well, let's say he lived. Now he doesn't get elected to a second term. So now you have a Republican in there. In his
Nixon or Goldwater, or was it not Goldwater?
Right. How does that change things? How does that change our involvement in Vietnam? How does it, there's a million ways you could go off with it,
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't even be Nixon or Goldwater. Maybe somebody else would have risen up that
Bobby Kennedy, maybe earlier.
Well, it would probably be a Republican, because if he lost.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I keep thinking he got killed, but no, okay, he didn't die. So
you can write your own narrative.
Going to.
Yeah.
Going to. That's a good what if. Throw Captain America in there. What if Captain America saved Robert F. Kennedy? Or Robert
King already did it. James Franco starred in the miniseries.
Oh, he did? Oh, cool. Gotta have to look at that. It's interesting, if Watergate, like with Watergate, how now all the stuff that happens now just makes that look like chump change.
I know, it's ridiculous, Stephen, that we made a big deal out of it compared to what's going on now.
Yeah, because he fucking bugged a hotel room. You know, and
Yeah.
when you think about all the freaking shit that we're catching, I mean, you know, they poisoning the world basically with
Yep.
COVID and you know, just all this stuff. It's hard
Yeah.
to believe that was a worldwide thing.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you really think of the as a, I mean, to really understand the impact, like the ramifications of that, you know, step out of orbit and look at the Earth. And this COVID thing was a global pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
global, like the whole world
Mm-hmm.
was sick from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty scary stuff when you think, and then to find out it was actually man-made, and no, you know, and then it's all being lied about. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was a wet
Yeah.
market, you know, bats or something, and it's just absurd, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, And then they're
It
arguing
also
about
became
calling it the Wuhan virus, the China virus. This is how fucked up their priorities are. Like you're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, and they're worried about making China seem being racist towards China by calling it the China virus. How fucking are you fucking out of your minds?
right. Right.
Like that's where your priorities are, you
Yeah.
stupid fucks.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
remember when they called Trump a racist for banning travel from China in the very beginning?
Yep.
You know.
yeah, yeah.
Well, because all
Right,
you gotta
right, yeah.
believe.
And Nancy Pelosi out in San Francisco saying, "Oh yeah, no, there's no problem. Just go by your, you know." And then she jumps to the other side. And like,
Yeah.
they're such phonies. It's like
Yeah.
unbelievable. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to
But
the
but
What
I
would
mean,
Daru Seven do?
it's not completely off topic because this is probably the most Star Trek, um, the most on the point of as far as like social messages for modern day than any of the others because they're not trying to hide it. They're not trying to hide Vietnam in a private little war. They're coming out and saying this is 1968 America, 1968 world. That's the whole point of it. There's none of that, you know, trying to hide it behind science fiction type stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
they're really, really hitting you with the social message of the day in this
that would have been
particular.
an interesting one too if they didn't use the nuclear angle. If they used the worldwide pandemic angle, that might have even had more weight to it. No, maybe not. But
Well, yeah, but nuclear holocaust was such a big topic back then. You know, that's what
Mhm.
everybody was worried about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we were in the middle of the Cold War, right?
well, we were in the middle
Yeah,
of Vietnam.
we were also up to our elbows in Vietnam too. And
Yeah.
1968 was the Tet Offensive.
Yeah.
So you know, all this stuff, the world in chaos. You know,
And it never ends, though. It's never ending. I mean, you know, this is the thing that kills me about it all. We've never gone without a war of some sort. I mean, you know, it's war in the, you know, in Israel and God, you know, Palestine and
Sure.
war in Ukraine and Russia, and it's just always war.
Oh,
You
all
know,
over the world, there's war. I mean, in
always
Africa,
going
you know,
on.
there's the Hutus and the Tutsis have been fighting for practically centuries. You know, there's strong men that rise up in these, you know, podunk countries or island nations, you know, that brutalize people. It's like, you know, where do you stop?
Yeah, I mean, it's going on at McDonald's and all those
Yeah.
people fighting in McDonald's.
Well, you got to get that last McRib.
It goes right down to, you know,
Don't tell me you're out of McRibs. Oh, man. Yeah.
You said limited time. You didn't say how limited.
I'll kill you all. Oh, man. Yeah, what a world we live in. What? See,
what
we
was the
need
name of the
to-
movie that James Franco starred in, Danky Frankie? I want to watch that Stephen
Yeah.
King movie. What's the name of it, if you can remember?
Isn't
Yeah,
that the one where the dad from October Sky? What's that guy? He's a good actor. What's his name? He sends, I think James Franco is his son, and he sends him through this time machine thing to save Kennedy. I've seen like a scene from it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
Oh, is that Chris?
Yes.
Chris Cooper. Chris Cooper.
Yes, Chris Cooper's
Yeah.
like plays James Franco's dad or some mentor or something. Anyway, he go through the closet, and the closet's like this time machine type time warp thing, and he gets them all dressed
That
up
makes sense. Here's the
from
title.
the 60s.
That's the name.
11/22/63.
Oh, that's the name of the movie.
Yeah, it's always Lincoln they go after, try to say, or to kill. It's either to kill Hitler or to save Lincoln. You don't hear too much about people going back in time to save JFK. So I'd like to watch that one. Even the Twilight Zone again did the episode where they, of course, that was pre JFK, obviously, but
I think sometimes enough time has to pass before you can address these things fictionally, because there's still people that experience it, or there's people that are direct relatives that are still with us. It's like you do a story about the Titanic and the thousands of people that died. There's nobody alive from the Titanic. So
I think the last person just recently passed. It was like last year or something.
Yes, recently, yeah.
Well, that was the interesting thing about the Nazi episode, right? It's like 20 years removed from World War II. Is all when they did the Nazi episode.
Right. But that war, I think, is different than assassination and accidents.
Yeah. But you gotta believe that there were people that had served in concentration, not served, but had been held in concentration camps. They were in the U.S. still alive that like caught that episode. You got to wonder what that would, how that would make you feel. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's why we always say, Ron, too soon.
Well, there were still some guys alive when Saving Private Ryan came out. I mean, I think there might.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, there's lots. A lot of vets went to see that, and that opening sequence just really broke them down because of how realistic it felt to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a brutal movie.
I remember watching an interview with one. He said it's just exactly what it was like. You got to give props to Spielberg for,
Yeah, that's the most un-Spielberg-like movie he's ever directed. It was just
a hard one. You couldn't. You had to. You shouldn't turn your eyes away from it. You need to watch what they went through.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he did that because I don't.
See,
we should make that
film
a must watch for every kid in civics class or in high school, or to understand what these people went through back then.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think Band of Brothers was better. The Saving Private Ryan, outside the opening, I thought was very derivative of Combat, the television show Combat. There's a lot of stuff that I saw in Combat that.
Well, it can't be derivative if that's what they actually went through, though.
No, I'm talking about the TV show Combat.
But even Combat was based on real events.
Yeah, but even the washed out color that they use was like when Combat went to color. It was like that.
There was the death scenes though in Saving Private Ryan were just. They weren't romanticized at all. They were brutal. Not just, when guys got like that. I remember the scene where
Tom Hanks is on the beach and he looks over his friend's head, just gets blown off.
Well, this after that, after the storming of Normandy, after the when
they get into France,
they take out the sniper. The lone German sniper out in that field, and the one guy gets all shot up, and they're trying to give him morphine, and he's crying for his mom, and it was just, and then the Jewish guy that got stabbed by the Roman soldier in the upper room near the end of the movie, he says something to him in German. He's like doing anything he can to stave off being killed by saying, "What does that mean? Wait, what does that mean?"
He's saying, "What's up? What's up? What's up?"
Yeah, and he's in the German guy's going shh 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 yeah. That scene disturbed me.
And especially because the other fucking guy is right down the stairs, could have saved him.
Yeah.
But again, that's the realism of it,
Right. It's just so scared.
Yeah. That sequence gave me nightmares actually, because that could have been anybody. You're in there, and now it's a one-on-one.
He put up a good fight. He just wasn't as strong as him.
Yeah, yeah, and all of a sudden you realize what's happening. It's slow motion almost, and you're losing, and you know what's going to happen. You're begging now for your life. You know, trying to understand it. You know, very powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of that
That's what
scene
this
in Gary
episode
7.
lacks.
What scene of Gary 7, Aaron?
Yeah, when he pulled out the pen, it was very similar to. It was set on kill, but he made the right decision and gave it to Kirk rather than.
Instead of, it would have been a whole different episode. Instead of he pulled out a pen, he pulled out a freaking machine gun.
You know what would be funny is if he actually had to sign something and he pulls that thing out and it doesn't have any ink in it, can't even write.
And he's doing this, and he's just
killing he's doing like this, and a little
people are dying because he's just like.
I like the little antenna that come out, little electrical.
You know, okay. Here's another question about the plot of this show. At the very end, right? He's sitting back in the chair and he's dictating to the typewriter about what happened, and it's typing it up on paper. For what purpose? Is he going to mail that, back to his home planet? I mean, why is it
bureaucracy is everywhere.
He was. It's because it's the visage of him being an actual Earthling in an office. You know, it was like, so he had to have. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
You're stretching here, Ron.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think they're trying to make it relatable to the audience. As opposed to because he could have just told that to the computer.
Right.
Yeah, he could have been dictating, and then maybe it would have emailed it back to Omega or whatever.
Right. So,
hey, everybody in the audience here, can you tell us who the infidels were that dumped Graham's subscription from last week? So we can dox them and find their families and. I want to know who they are.
I'm gonna find out.
I want every one of you, our private little Star Trek army, to go out and find those losers who left
those
us.
Infidels.
No, I tell you, there's like 5 guys in comics that I just I would not mess with, and 2 of them are right here on this show. So do not mess with these gentlemen. I'm just telling you.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
I watched something recently with that guy, with Bill Bixby, where he's in a courtroom and he turns into the Hulk.
Oh.
It's a trial. I think it's called the Trial of the
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that has Daredevil in it, right?
What's that?
Daredevil's in that one.
Yeah, Rex. What was that guy's name? Rex Moore. Not Rex Moore.
Was he in that one? I don't remember.
Yeah. The guy who's a singer actor.
Yeah, I had the blonde.
Yeah, I know you're talking.
Rex.
I didn't realize they had Daredevil in that.
Well, you wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah, he doesn't look anything like.
They took his horns off because it was they were afraid of offending people that he had
religious
horns.
groups, probably.
Yeah,
but it's so funny to watch Lou Ferrigno come out of Bill Bixby, and then and realize how small Lou Ferrigno actually is by today's standards. He just looks like a pumped up dude.
Yeah. No HGH back then. No HGH back then. So, doesn't anybody in the chat know who that guy's name is? Rex something. Come on, you guys.
Yeah, Rex Smith.
Rex Smith.
I think that's it. Rex Smith. I think you're right.
He couldn't remember Smith.
Well, it's so obvious.
I was thinking Jones, and I just couldn't get that out of my mind.
I just saw a video on YouTube that had like the best made for TV movies that you should go back and look at, and one of them was the Doctor Strange movie, which I was like, you got to be kidding me. Really? I've never seen it.
Yeah, I had never seen it either.
But they're saying it's really not that bad. You should check it out. And I'm like, should I though?
You mean they're putting that up there with Tales of Terror and Kolchak the Night Stalker?
Well, they had one that's the second movie that Spielberg directed, something about the House of Evil or something, or it was like a haunted house television movie. I never saw it. It was.
I kind of remember this Strange movie. Now that you mention it, there's a lot of stuff that came and went. It's funny how many times have you heard or been reminded of something that if you hadn't been reminded, you would have gone the rest of your life and never remembered it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Or how many times have you remembered something like, especially like TV movies that were big in the day, and then you rewatch them now and you say, God, this is dog shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Or they're better, or they're better than you remember.
Yeah, they're not usually better. Because I watched Duel recently, you know, Spielberg's with his first, you know, and I remember being terrified from that. And when I saw it again, I was like, God, this has got so many holes in it. This is
What's that about?
It's about Dennis Weaver getting kind of like, there's a truck that's after him on the highway, and you never see the driver. It's almost like the truck is haunted type of thing.
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
And another one is Gargoyles.
I remember that one. I actually like that one.
I love that one when
I like that
then
movie.
I saw it recently. It's horrible.
Yeah, but the makeup effects by young Stan Winston did those gargoyles. They're pretty good.
It's just because you're spoiled now, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right. You're spoiled, Graham.
We didn't know. Well, we all were. I mean, the $6 Million Man, when you watch those.
Oh, yeah, they're not good.
They're not that good. But, you know, for that time and the fact that there wasn't, you had to go to the movies. That's why movies were such an event, because they spent millions of dollars back then on movies that were great entertainment. Like, I don't know, you name it, Saturday Night Fever or Star Wars. You know, they were great entertainment, but on television, there wasn't anything that had that kind of budget or anything else. So we just watched what we could watch, and we enjoyed it. But then in hindsight now, because we're so spoiled with special effects, and we've seen some of the best things come and go since then. That
there was another TV movie that John Carpenter directed, and it was featuring Lauren Hutton, and she was being stalked by some dude. He started calling her on the phone, those type of thing, and then it became this really sort of intense. She's trapped in the house and all this kind of stuff. And I vaguely remember that, but it was Carpenter that directed it, and I didn't know that. So I was like, oh, maybe I should go back and revisit that.
Yeah, there's always people that pop up in things, you know, like that you didn't know who they were at the time because they weren't somebody of note yet.
Right.
Like what's his name? Who played the captain in Alien?
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt. He was in an episode of The Night Stalker where he played the devil, like the devil living inside this guy.
He was in Devil's Reign too with William Shatner.
Oh, was Skerritt was in that?
Yeah.
You know, it was a good one that I always liked was the one with Peter Fonda and Warren Oates, where they're on a vacation in their motorhomes, and they're stopping at this park, and there's this satanic sacrifice going on.
What is that?
Run from Race with the Devil.
Race with the Devil, yeah.
And they're like in these motorhomes.
Down the road.
The Satanists are chasing them, and trying to run them off the road and stuff.
You know, speaking of William Shatner, it's interesting how, like, we're talking about, oh, guys, you never knew who they were going to be. That motherfucker, you never forgot who he was. From the 50s all the way through.
Oh yeah, everything he's in, he
leaves his mark.
Really good.
He leaves his mark on.
Yeah, but but then you look at some of the stuff he's done. He just has that personality that's so so kind of unforgettable in a weird way, like. But he's done a lot of crap, like Kingdom of the Spiders was crap.
Yeah.
I
actually like Kingdom of the Spiders. What's his name? Rack somebody?
Barbary Ghost.
Oh my gosh.
He always managed to find his way back into something that, like T.J. Hooker or whatever.
T.J. Hooker was not good. That was not good.
That was
with Adrian Zmed.
Yeah, hey, what a name. Wouldn't you change your name?
Adrian Smeg.
Well, it was Adrian Smegma. And
so
I said it before you did.
Oh, you did?
Was an improvement. Oh my gosh. Well, don't you think that him being in Star Trek, though, and that was, such a visible cult type television show, that certainly helped his visibility?
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Particularly when it went into reruns, and it was
that's why like even Nimoy had pointed out that without that show, because even Nimoy did what was that silly documentary show
In search
In
of.
search
In
of.
search of, I mean, because they weren't getting any roles in anything.
Well,
TV was drying up, and then he said he learned to appreciate Star Trek because it gave him his career new life, and he got to direct some big movies like Three Men and a Baby or Two Men and a Bit, whatever that show.
Three Men
Three
and a
Men and a
Baby.
He was really successful with that.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job directing,
He did he did my favorite Star Trek movie, Star Trek 4.
Yeah, The Voyage Home.
Really like that one.
That's your favorite over Wrath of Khan?
Don't get me
Yeah.
started, Graham. Don't. Oh my.
I said that deliberately because I knew
Oh
you.
my gosh! It just okay. Whatever. Graham and I have been. This has been we've even fought on. We've had shows around us arguing about Star Trek 2. So
Yeah.
But
it's usually Star Trek 2 versus Star Trek 1.
Yeah, it was.
I saw Shatner on a clip at the airport. One of those.
Oh, I saw that where he's waiting for an Uber.
Looking at his phone. It reminded me of when I saw him because he's on his phone. He's always like this on his phone. And the guy comes over and he visibly gets annoyed with the guy. And I actually felt bad for Shatner, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Because I was
just minding his own business, and this guy.
He finally says to the guy, please, just he's trying to be nice, but he's like trying to shoo him off at the same time. And he's 93, and it kind of seeing that helped me in a way because it put a lot in perspective for me for that guy.
That it's your fault.
How much of this shit he's had to put up with for 50 years or whatever it is,
Imagine you're 93 years old, you're traveling alone, you're waiting on an Uber, you have technology in your hand. I mean, I don't know too many 93-year-olds that are that
capable of doing that.
Oh, yeah. It's like I was saying when he was walking through the hotel, he was literally walking like he was 45. I mean, he didn't look like he had any kind of joint issues, nothing.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Like fast, walking fast right through the hotel and just, it was weird to see him because he doesn't seem like he's nine. When you look him in the eyes, he does.
Right.
He's got that kind of watery look.
Eyes are watering and there's redness and So
but the mind is still there. He's still sharp.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's still,
he still has a keen understanding of human beings, like when he met Ron.
Yeah, he clearly did.
He knows how to read a room.
What the hell?
Or a tent or whatever it was.
Oh no, you're kneeling.
It wasn't his fault. He didn't know I was coming. It was just some fun. I was just another one of those guys like at the airport to him.
Right.
And that's why I wish they had just told him.
Right.
That was really on the show. They did not do their, if you had them, hey, I want to meet Shatner, they should have set it up. They don't just bring you back there and dump you off.
I know. And it was, and I was too sort of, I didn't know what I was going to say to him. I had all these things racing through my head. To meet him was, was it, and so for me, it just, so when I got to meet him, I didn't know what to really say other than a couple things I wanted to tell him. And I had other things in my head, like I told you last week, how my mother spoke to him on the phone and I never got to say, because it's just interesting conversation, but
sure.
So he was just caught off guard. And then who the fuck am I? I'm like, hey, I'm a guest of the show. And you're a guest of the show. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a guest of the show. And he just turns around, doesn't say anything. He just goes and sits down. And then I look around, the fucking guy's gone.
If you brought your wife, though, you might have got a different reception.
Probably. Most likely.
Because I don't know if I told you that, I probably have, but I had my, he was at a show here in Portland and I didn't know he was going to be there. He was like filling in because he had the same agent as somebody else who canceled or whatever. And people are like, Aaron, Shatner's here, And so, and I don't like to go bug celebrities at all. And so I sent my daughter, who's a celebrity hound, I said, go get an autograph for me. And she had one of her friends, right? And so they were juniors, seniors in high school, right? Young, attractive girls. And he was just sitting there, according to my daughter, just sitting there grousing at his table signing autographs, and then these two walk up, and he's like, "Well, hello."
Well, even Anna even said that he acts real nice to her. You know.
Yeah.
He once a pussy hound, always a pussy hound. But it's like
Yeah.
with I remember seeing him on an interview, and he said it's so different now because he got older. And he's like, years ago when I run into these good-looking girls, it was like, they throw themselves at him. And he says now he's just like this, when he gets,
He's safe.
he's like this lascivious. No, he can tell they treat him like he's this lascivious.
Oh.
Like, because he still is that way. Like, because we never really leave our 35-year-old
Right.
18.
Or 18, whatever. Yeah. But yeah.
Wasn't that the thing with Julie Schwartz in DC that he was this?
Oh yeah. Well, he was married for like 50 years or something like that. And he was really devastated when his wife died. But once, death did him part, he was he definitely cast a wide net.
Like now's his chance when he's 80 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, did you guys know who the critical drinker is?
Yeah.
I know who he is. Yeah, I don't know him.
I don't know him, but
They have a thing called Critical Drinker After Hours, and he has a bunch of guys who do the movie review podcasts, like Nerdrotic and a couple other.
I know Gary.
But Mark Millar was on there the other night.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that. Yeah. Mark's out pumping his book.
doesn't come back to us though. We gave him.
I would love to go on that show on the Critical Drink and talk about these movies and stuff too.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'd like to do that.
Anyway, it's already 9:07.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get some votes here, gentlemen.
Go ahead, Aaron. Come
on.
I think we're all going to be pretty close on this one.
I would think
this is it's good, but it's I struggle with the fact that if I could just separate the Gary 7 part from the Star Trek part, I probably would like it better. I don't mind it. I think it's fine, but it's not something that I look forward to watching. I'm gonna go 6.5. So decent, but not not earth shattering.
Earth shattering. Assignment earth shattering. Couple plot holes give me pause, like the thing, them not checking him for any kind of weapon, and they're so worried about him being a bad guy, they throw him in the brig, don't even bother frisking him. That's a big plot hole, And
I had to get him off the ship.
You could have found some other way, give him some kind of mind powers. I don't know. And then them giving away that he's a good guy too early, like, giving these, it was so campy, him zapping them with the orgasmatron and them having these happy looks like they're drunk and happy was brought it a step down for me as well. I thought it could have been vastly more interesting, and it took away from the gravity of the situation, I felt like. I liked the episode though, and I thought it was a decent little attempt at getting another episode, another series out of it, and I do think it would have been a good one. But they really needed to go and get away from the the campiness and the lame attempts at humor with Terry Garr. So I'm going to go with a 6.5.
Same as Aaron.
There you go. Look at Ron and I.
Yeah.
I liked it though. Not.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, but it's
Yeah. I like it better than Omega Glory, which what did I give that last week? A 6?
We both gave it a 4.
You gave it a 4.
Yeah, right. So it wasn't even.
I gave it a 9.5.
Yeah, average is a 5. I think this is a little better than average.
For Omega Glory. That's insane.
I would give this a 6.
You cannot seriously give Omega Glory a 9.5.
I didn't give Omega Glory. I did give it a 7.5, I think, because I said it's a guilty pleasure for me. I understand that it's a stupid episode, but I still enjoy it. So that's.
I was gonna say, man, that's insane.
Yeah,
don't you love Commando?
What was your score, Graham?
6.
Oh, 6. Okay. So
6,
we're
yeah.
all in the same.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all in the same ballpark. So
We'll just
You
give
know,
it a
Probably Anna gives us a 3, right? Probably.
she announced she hated it, right?
Yeah, she
Didn't she
did.
last week?
It's
Yeah.
because she's jealous of the cat chick.
Yeah, that must be it.
I
She
always
did
notice
message
that when
us,
there's
guys.
a
She did message us. She apologized for not being able to make the show. They're having a roof put on the house.
Well, that might cause a
It's
little
meant
bit of
as
noise.
having a roof put on the house stop her from coming on the show.
Noise.
Yeah.
Noise.
Banging over her head. Boom, boom,
I'm
boom.
joking. I
God, Ron, do I have to tell you?
Come
That's
on, Aaron.
Come
I
on,
can't
Ron.
believe she missed the last episode though of season 2. That's like a milestone.
That's a big one. She should have brought her, her iPads or something.
I'm in some ways dreading going into season 3. There's so many episodes I hate in season 3,
Mhm.
but there are a couple gems in there.
There are. I
What's
think
the first gem that jumps into your mind?
I actually
The
like
Lights of Zetar.
No, God. I like the Enterprise incident.
Yeah, actually, I do like that one a lot.
Spock hooking up with the Romulan commander.
Did you see when they in the new series where they used her daughter, Lara Linville?
Oh, yeah, I saw pictures of her.
It's like you can't even believe it. Like when I was watching it, like I watched a clip on you, I'm like, what the fuck? Because I didn't know her daughter was the one playing her. Because it's so spitting image, you can't tell the difference. It's like,
Really?
I mean, it took me a while at least. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, like it was a whole new episode, but with Laura Linville's daughter, and I thought it was her. Like, I'm like, what am I missing here? Like, it was pretty incredible. She did a great job. I mean,
Is that in Strange New Worlds? Is that?
I'm trying to remember. Maybe somebody on here would know.
Is it the one with Captain Pike? The new ones with Captain Pike?
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember. It was last year sometime I saw
That's probably it then, because that's the newest Star Trek that's running on Paramount.
She got some kind of sci-fi award for it or something.
Oh, cool. Cool. So the best third season episode that comes to my mind is the one we're doing next week, which is Spectre of the Gun.
I wouldn't give that the best.
Yeah, it might be my favorite of the whole third season. But I haven't seen
it's got a great atmosphere to it. I will give it that.
Yeah, the Malkotians are really cool.
And they're such a mysterious race. Like, it's like you see that weird face with the two glowing eyes in space and stuff.
I did like that a lot. And it has Scotty has some great lines in this season.
Yeah. He's got stuff to do.
What does he say? It's he goes, he takes a shot of whiskey or whatever, and he goes, "What was that for?" And he goes, "Yeah, to kill the pain." He goes, "This is painless." He goes, "You should have told me sooner."
Yeah, that is a great line.
And I will say the casting was good. I'm glad they chose people that we hadn't seen 1,000 times before. Like guys like Doc Holliday and and all that. They looked like guys who really belonged back then. It was good casting.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Before we go, I just want to tell everybody I launched a Kickstarter for Escape to Monster Island.
Be careful, man.
And there is a let me just show you really quick here, guys. Your screen. There we go. This is going to be a signed exclusive cover only on Kickstarter. The campaign that's on Indiegogo is still live, but this cover here is only available on Kickstarter. It's a 30-day campaign. It's a lightning campaign. So if you want to get this cover, you got to go over to Kickstarter and get it within 30 days, because then the campaign shuts down. There's no in demand or anything like that for it. Plus, you can get the other covers too. The main of the 3 covers, and you can get a 4-cover package, including this one. And this one is signed by me. So take a look at that, and the link is pinned to the top of the chat. And our pal Marcus Kelgrew has been dropping the link in throughout the evening, as well as Aaron's Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow. Go
you.
give that a look too. His link is also in the chat here.
Thank you,
And
sir.
anything you want to talk about, Ron? Anything you're working on that you want people to go to, website or anything like that?
Yeah, you just see me on Instagram, starting Berserker 2. That's it. Nothing earth shattering.
Okay. Well, when you have something, you feel free to let everybody know when we're on here. All right.
We'll always give you a plug, Ron.
We're plugging.
Wrong. I love the
Wrong.
way, no matter what, no matter how many times you say my name, it's always dripping with beautiful contempt. And I love
And John Drinks Woodford reminds us that Anna has her iBook campaign out there.
That's
right
true.
now.
That's right.
Yeah. And my eye is one of them. So you got to go through those thousands of eyes and find mine.
I'm jealous. I wanted to get my eye in there.
Yeah.
Monster Island.
Escape from Monster Island.
Escape from Monster Island.
All right, my friends. Thanks so
Oh.
much. We will see you for the third season next week. Until then, have a great week.
And
Bye
live
now.
long and prosper.
That too.